Another thing I want to mention, at least one thing, we'll see what happens, about non-duality versus, say, the Christian belief vantage point, that I think is a funny connection. Well, funny and also makes sense, is at least a lot of the Christianity I grew up in and am used to, and I think for the most part, the message of almost every Christianity you run into is it's already taken care of. Jesus already took care of you, so you're fine and you don't have to worry about it. Now, why I think that's funny, and it also makes sense in light of Advaita, or in light of the non-dual truth, is that is true, that you don't need to worry about your life, about your being, and that you don't need to do anything about your being. You're fine. Is that is one of the ways the message of non-duality could be purely communicated, except for the part where that occurred in time by another person, in that whole impossible situation of like, our being is not God, but Jesus was God, and also let me out, man. I'm out of that thing. You get this. I have not met a human on earth who made a good argument for that making sense. Not one. And I have done the rounds, my friend. And you won't meet one who makes a good argument, because that didn't happen. So I'm not saying Jesus isn't God. I'm just saying that the reality is not that Jesus is God and you're not. That's not what's going on. So I'm not in with that crowd. I'm living in the desert community that doesn't agree. If you get the joke, you get the joke. Yeah, but it's funny because I think, when Christians, so I've been a Christian, I was playing the Orthodox game, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to my Orthodox friends, but I mean it that way because I was sure of the path I was on, and then I did the Orthodox thing, and it wasn't genuine really all the way down, because I had already come to the truth, and it wasn't Orthodoxy. And so I let myself do that, and then I had to leave because it was like, geez, this is beautiful, but I'm not being honest by doing this, because it's not what I recognize as the truth, right? So anyways, beside the point. But I've heard Christians a lot, some very, very close to me, who, when they say that, it's already taken care of, there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing more to do for your salvation. I mean, that's not exactly what Orthodox believe, by the way, but that's, again, Lutherans, Protestants, they'll fall into this, I actually agree more with them on that point, this vantage point of there's nothing more to do for your salvation. It's already been taken care of. I mean, it's already been taken care of, that, I don't, but that there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to do, right? There's nothing you can do for your salvation. We'll get to whatever that's supposed to mean in a second. But there's great relief in when I've seen Christians kind of repeat this or say this, I see a great relief, and I feel what I feel when they say that is feels very genuinely true. Not true according to the canons of whatever. I don't care about that. But it feels right. There's something in that feels right. But it's not the Jesus died for your sins and that's why you're okay part. That doesn't. It's a really, like, if you make yourself feel like it's true, it's a really, like, you get probably dopamine and endorphins and stuff that, you know, it could feel really exciting and nice because everyone wants to be loved, right? So, you know, you give a story of you that someone loves you, and yeah, you're gonna feel some good stuff, right? But yeah, it's curious though, because I hear Christians say that, and there's a part in me when they say that that's like, yeah, there's something true. And there is something true. And I think it's funny because, you know, the non-dual truth, or the reality, says that, or that's what we get from the experience of our true nature, which is there isn't a separate person that's going towards God that's eventually going to be okay. And, you know, it's not this progressive path of, you know, that's not the way it actually is. That's how we're going about our lives until we aren't, but it's not the reality. It's something that consciousness is doing, playing a part, playing peekaboo with itself, and that's great. It's a sometimes beautiful and sometimes a treacherous game, and it's all good, but it's not the reality. But that's interesting to me, you know what I mean? That there's a connection there to reality, I believe, when someone who calls himself a Christian says that line where there's nothing, you know, they express that love or that truth, that there's nothing, you know, there's nothing for you to do. It's, don't worry, you know, you're already saved. That whole thing, there's something in there that somehow the truth worked its way into that, and I think I don't think there's an accident there. I think it's mixed at this point, usually by the time we hear that 21st century, it's mixed with other stuff. It's mixed with, well, that's because Jesus died for your sins. It's like, no, I don't think if you could sit Jesus down in front of you right now, I think you would get a very different gospel than you're used to. I think you would get the gospel, which is he would look into your eyes and you would look into him, and there would be no more time, and you would touch into the eternity that's never left and that's never come into being. And the only thing that there has ever been, the only reality that there is, I believe that's what you would get a glimpse of if Jesus were to have a conversation with you. You wouldn't get the story of you're a separate person and you know, and you have to have the church and you have to have confession, you know, like, sorry, it's okay. Like, if you're doing that, it's okay. Do that thing. If that's what you feel you need, do that thing. However, if you're listening to me right now and you're open to the possibility that you don't need to do that thing, and you're okay in your being, the nature of your being, the reality that is hearing these words right now, as Francis would say, does not need help, is not in time, is not going somewhere, was not born, does not die. is not limited, at least, right? Then be open to that. And we can celebrate together. Yeah, so that was on my mind. I know you felt probably a little spice in my last video. I think that's okay. It's, not a lot of people are talking about that, and I think it's really an unfortunate thing that people get wrapped up in. Yeah, I guess it's part of things at the moment, but yeah, that the gospel that is usually called the gospel is not what I believe the gospel to be. I think it's way better than that. Like I said, in Jesus' words, the gospel is, I and my Father are one. And that's why he was killed. Isn't that funny? And then you all put him on a pedestal, so infinitely far away from you, where that was not his message. I will say it. I and my Father are one. If you want to crucify me, knock yourself out. But I live in America, and we're living in the 21st century, so most of us aren't going to get crucified for saying that. I don't really care if I do. I'd rather not. I enjoy living and breathing, but, whatever. Do your thing. It's just a body. Alright, love you guys. See ya.